What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be discussing and grading the Chicago Bulls off-season moves from the NBA draft to the free agent signings, and discussing the positives and the negatives of every single one of them. Now, at the end of the day, I have kind of already talked about and have shared my opinions on a lot of the deals that we've made. Some of them are controversial, some of them may not be controversial, and everything of that nature. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's important to make sure that we still continue to talk about these free agent signings, because we haven't seen them play on the court yet, and because of that, we don't necessarily know how great these signings are. So these are kind of initial reactions and my reactions at this point in time, which can ultimately change in 6 months down the line. Let's just say if Goran Dragic is having an incredible season, my opinion might change on the grade that I give him for our free agency to obviously 6 months down the line. So I'm giving my initial reaction just so you guys know exactly how I feel, and ultimately if down the line things change, if my mind changed, at least you'll know from my standpoint, look, I've changed my mind. I've never been on a bandwagon from the very beginning. I've had to work my way into liking a signing or feeling it's a good player. This goes for everyone, not necessarily just targeting out one player there. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls. What grade would you give to all of the signings that we've made? So obviously the grading system will be from F to A+. That's obviously usual common sense type of stuff. Just in case you guys were unaware, that's the grading system I'm going to give for these players. And we'll wait and see, I guess, who gets the best and who gets the worst. I think most of us have our own, I guess, ambitions and goals in mind. Most people will grade very similar in my eyes, but it could definitely be different as well. So we first start off with the NBA draft. Now, in relation to the NBA draft, we had two, I guess, pieces of news in which happened on that night. One of them was an undrafted signing, and one of them was obviously our 18th overall pick. With the 18th overall pick, obviously we selected Dalen Terry. Now, I feel like many people have jumped the bandwagon of Dalen Terry very, very quickly. And all I really asked in relation to Dalen Terry, very similar to what I asked about Patrick Williams, is that people give him a chance. But I feel like some people who didn't like the signing of Dalen Terry at the very beginning have all of a sudden switched stances and said they've always liked that player, or have always liked that signing and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people have done that, but obviously I'm not here to pick out people, individual people, and take points and anything like that. I'm just saying that I have seen that over the course of the last couple of weeks through the Summer League as well. I've always said let's give him a chance, and I think what I've seen in the Summer League, I have liked what I've seen. Obviously he does have his weaknesses. The turnovers were a big issue. Sometimes he rushes himself a little bit too much, but even at the end of the Summer League, you saw a really balanced Dalen Terry in my eyes, which was really, really good to see. His NBA defense, I think, will be ready from the very beginning. I would give this signing, I'm not going to give it too high, because at the end of the day, it's extremely difficult to, I guess, grade rookies and grade players that haven't played in the NBA yet. I'm going to give it a C+ at the moment, because I feel like this could potentially have signs of genius from the Arturas, Mark Eversley, and the Bulls front office. But you got to understand the risks that we may have taken with Dalen Terry, who many people from the very beginning thought was not the best signing we could have done in the NBA draft. So I'm trying to keep it as level playing field as possible. We can't really judge rookies and stuff of that nature based on what their capabilities are if we haven't seen them play at the NBA yet. I feel like if you come back and ask me a year from now, my response will be completely different. Either one on one side where it's completely down, or he impresses and he's on the higher side of a grade. But right now, I think it's important to say he hasn't played in the NBA yet. I don't want expectations on him. I don't want to say he's going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate, and I don't want to say he's going to be a bust. I think right now he's down the middle, and I'm going to give it a C+ at the moment. Justin Lewis was an undrafted selection, ladies and gentlemen, and I actually do like this undrafted selection. The Bulls have done this before with Devon Dotson, and it did not work out. I'm going to give this a B-. I'm going to give it slightly above the Dalen Terry because, again, this is kind of the choice that we had after the NBA draft. We didn't have a second-round pick in terms of this NBA draft as well. So it was very, very important for the Chicago Bulls to actually look at the undrafted candidates and go and select them. Now, we could have done more, we could have done less, we could have done nothing. And the fact that we found another player that we think has the potential that can do something in this league, whether it's a star player or a role player or anything in between, it's important in my opinion. And I feel like we need to be that team that focuses on development and finds talent that other players or other teams don't give a chance to. Justin Lewis was our player from this year. It didn't work with Devon Dotson. Let's hope it works well with Justin Lewis. I'll give it a B- because it's something that we didn't need to do and we ended up doing, and he's on a two-way contract spot as well, which clearly means the Bulls rate him highly. We'll wait and see how the outcome will be. He's another player where it could definitely shift in a year's time. It could be all the way up the top. It could very much be down the bottom as well. Time will tell. And again, in a year's, if you ask me in a year's time, I think my response would be different. The Tony Bradley opting into his player option. I'm actually going to grade this one very harshly, and it's not because I don't like Tony Bradley. I actually think he's a very reasonable and capable third choice center for a Chicago Bulls team. That's someone that's not going to get a lot of minutes, but can make an impact, especially towards the end of the season. I like what I saw out of Tony Bradley. The reason why I'm going to grade this harshly is because I actually don't know what the Bulls wanted to do. They gave him a player option. That doesn't mean the Bulls want to keep Tony Bradley. And that sort of confusion and I guess not knowing, in my opinion, is not really good sign to see. So I would give this a D+. That's honestly what I feel. Is Tony Bradley a D+ player? Many people might say he's trash, he's washed or whatever, we should waive him to keep Marco on the team. I personally do think that Tony Bradley has a good sign as a third choice center to really make some sort of contribution. But obviously, he's not the best of the best player, is he? So again, I think he's around the average sort of player. But the reason, as I said before, the reason why I'm grading this harshly is because I don't know what the Bulls wanted to do. This could have really messed up a lot of what the Bulls wanted to do because Tony Bradley opted in. Or maybe this is because, again, maybe Tony Bradley opted in because the Bulls wanted him to opt in. And maybe he had that communication beforehand, which I hope is the case. But at the end of the day, us not knowing is a bit confusing. So time will tell in terms of what we do with Tony Bradley. Again, if we waive him, I think we have a certain date until we can waive him. It's going to be after the season starts, I believe. If we just waive him straight away, then we clearly know the Bulls never wanted to keep him in the first place. But if he stays the whole season, then again, maybe this grade will be a little bit higher because the Bulls clearly saw value and wanted to keep him as a third choice center. It's another situation where time will tell, but yeah, I'm going to grade that one a little bit harshly because I don't like not knowing what the Bulls wanted to do, and it was basically up to the player and not the team. That is something that it happens. Usually happens to really good players like Zach LaVine. I don't really mind if Zach LaVine has a player option. I'm not really too certain about the other guys that we're talking about and Tony Bradley getting player options as well. Now we're moving into some of the, I guess, two-way contracts and stuff like that. I mentioned Justin Lewis. We extended Malcolm Hill to a two-way contract as well. And the problem that I had at the very beginning of this is that Malcolm Hill's a little bit of an older player. I don't see a lot of true development in Malcolm Hill. I think what he brings to this team is something that we need. Again, when he's on form and he has, I guess, a good standing, good rhythm, he is a really good spot-up shooter. And I think we need more of those on this team. So I can understand the value in keeping Malcolm Hill as a two-way contract player. But at the same time, I feel like those two-way contract players are meant to be for developmental cases, are meant to be for players that have potential, and you build that potential out of them. The G League is supposed to be where potential is I guess, untapped, and you get to see the best out of the best of those players. And when they come into the NBA, they'll be ready to play because the G League has taught them so much. That's what two-way contract should be about in my eyes, getting experience at the NBA level and at the G League. And I'm not sure Malcolm Hill is the right guy for that. I feel like if the Bulls wanted to really use him, I would have probably preferred to see him just get a 15th man contract on the rotation, to be honest, and play him in sporadic times than just sending him to the G League and playing in the team at certain occasions if he does get into the team. I feel like it's a wasted two-way contract spot in my eyes. But his summer league has been very, very good. So I'm going to keep high hopes for Malcolm Hill, but I'm going to put this as an average C. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the best thing in the world as well. I do feel like a two-way contract spot for a younger guy could very much be where I hope we head. But I'm not going to say this is the worst thing in the world. It's not worse than what we did with Tony Bradley in my eyes. And yeah, stuff like that. And by the way, Marko Saminovic as the third choice center has nothing to do with why I graded Tony Bradley so low. I honestly feel like the only reason why I graded it so low is because I don't know if the Bulls actually wanted to keep him. That's really it. Marco's got nothing to do with this instance, and I hope Marco can play as a power forward, to be honest. That's really what I see the goal being. But moving on into the next one. These are now where we get to the free agent signings, ladies and gentlemen. The first free agent signing that we saw was Andre Drummond. Now, Andre Drummond, I've always said, has been a mixed bag, and many people actually don't know what Andre Drummond brings to the table. Again, I think half the fan base believes Andre Drummond will play amazing defense. His defensive rating has always been very, very high. He's a solid rebounder. He's good for a couple of offensive rebounds per game and putbacks per game, and will give you a strong backup center position minutes compared to what we've already had. You have the other side of the coin that says Andre Drummond plays no defense in the league anymore. He's a player that you can't play in clutch situations. He's not going to be available to you at the fourth quarter and stuff like that. And sometimes he does a little bit too much that makes you regret signing him. These are the two sides of the coins. And I'm guaranteeing you, you will probably meet one or the other throughout your lifetime with a Chicago Bulls team. You will meet someone that hates Andre Drummond. You'll meet someone that likes Andre Drummond. In my stance, I'm going to give this probably the highest I've actually given, maybe on par with Justin Lewis. I'm going to give him a B-. The reason why I'm not putting Andre Drummond in the A categories or even in the high B categories is because he probably wasn't the first option for most Chicago Bulls fans. Again, you're looking at the Isaiah Hartensteins, you're looking at the Mo Bambas, you're looking at those types of plays. Even a Nicholas Claxton, in my eyes, could have been a decent shout for the Chicago Bulls team. Those are the guys that most people wanted in terms of that backup center position. Even Mitchell Robinson, someone I completely forgot about. Those are guys that we wanted from the backup center position. And we didn't really get any of those guys. We weren't even close to getting any of those guys, in all honesty. And Andre Drummond, I think, brings a lot to this team. I think what he brings, you can't ignore. We were one of the worst rebounding teams in the NBA. And now you've got Vucevic and Andre Drummond that can both respectively average around 10 rebounds per game, alongside of Lonzo Ball, who if he comes back, is a very good rebounding guard as well. Our rebounding should be a very strong focal point next season. That's something you can't take away, as much as the offensive rebounding was an issue last year as well. Does he add rim protection? Not necessarily. Not the best rim protector out there, and that's why he's probably not many people's first choice. What he does bring to the table is still going to be very valuable to the Chicago Bulls. So I put this at a B-. I think it's a good signing, but it's not the best signing we could have done, and it's far from the worst. I think the worst signing we could have done is brought back Tristan Thompson. No disrespect to Tristan Thompson, I think he's a good player, but he just didn't match this team, and the Bulls clearly didn't trust him in those playoff situations. That's why I feel that would have been the worst thing we could have done. And I'm glad we steered away from that. We went in a new direction, we got a new player in, and we'll wait and see what the outcome will be. Next up was keeping Zach LaVine, I believe, as well. And keeping Zach LaVine is, in my opinion, is by far the highest grade I could possibly give. I'm not going to give it an A+, but I'm going to give it an A. And the reason why I'm giving it an A is because all the sign and trade deals we've been linked to with Zach LaVine, in almost every single one of them, we lose that trade. We go back to a rebuilding team, if anything, if we accept some of those trades that were offered to us. The Bulls were highly confident in keeping Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine staying here is a big component in terms of going and competing once again this year, and hopefully for future years to come as well. And hopefully he gets better. The reason why I'm not giving it an A+ is because I know there are many people out there that believe Zach LaVine is not worth a max contract. And he's going to have to earn that trust from those guys. And that's why I'm not giving it an A+, because that means I think everything was perfect about Zach LaVine signing. And I don't think that's the case. If we got Zach LaVine for less than the max, I think that's where an A+ comes in. The Bulls did an incredible job there. But we got Zach LaVine for the max. Zach LaVine's going to be on the Chicago Bulls team for multiple years to come. I think this is a good step in the right direction for us to continue to compete, continue to get better. Hopefully continuity and health will be the key. But even if it isn't, we still got our cornerstone player in Zach LaVine, and we can make moves around him in the future. So again, I think this is a great signing, and I think this is what we really needed for us to continue to compete. And hopefully Zach LaVine will continue to learn, continue to get better. He's still very young, still needs to learn how to win on a constant basis, and he's getting that experience from the Olympics to last year. He's learning how to win as well. I think it's a really good opportunity for Zach to really prove his worth to the NBA, and he feels like he's already made it. So I'm not going to say there's a point to prove there, but I feel like for fans there probably is a point to prove. But for Zach LaVine, he probably feels like he's already proving his point to the rest of the world. So we'll wait and see how that goes for Zach LaVine. Derrick Jones Jr. is the next one, ladies and gentlemen. And at the end of the day, many people weren't necessarily happy about bringing Derrick Jones Jr. back for, I guess, the players that we could have got. Again, I think we're linked to Gallinari for a long time in that free agency period before he went to the Boston Celtics, and we actually offered more money to Danilo Gallinari compared to what Boston Celtics did, but he obviously wanted to go there over us. That's his choice. Hopefully it works out well for him. I'm not going to bash any player that decides not to come here, but I think the Bulls' first choice wasn't Derrick Jones Jr., and I think Derrick Jones Jr. was not the Bulls' first choice either. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting thing. I feel like both players probably didn't want each other, but that's the best they could have done with each other. The best for the Bulls was Derrick Jones Jr. at the time, and the best of Derrick Jones Jr. was the Bulls at that time. So I'm going to give it a high grading for the financial reasons behind it. I'm going to give it a B because he didn't hurt the trade exception that we had, and we had the bird rights on him as well. So it was a really good signing in the fact that it didn't harm us whatsoever. So that was really positive to see, and I think the Bulls did a smart play there. But obviously, if he's not the first choice, and I don't think he wanted the Bulls as his first choice either, I just feel like at the end of the day, it's kind of like a neutral agreement. It's not beneficial for both parties. I think both parties would have chosen to maybe go their separate ways, but they're still together here. The continuity is big as well. So yeah, financially, I think this is a very good deal for the Chicago Bulls. Moving into the next one, which is Goran Dragic, ladies and gentlemen. This is so hard for me because Goran Dragic was always a strange signing, but when you look at the, I guess, perspective of it, Goran Dragic has a lot to prove still at his age. But I've always liked Goran Dragic. I think Goran Dragic is one of the most underrated guards I've ever seen in the NBA from my time watching. Yes, he had the posterizer, the Derrick Rose posterizer. He was a meme from Chicago fans all across the world for a long time. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, Goran Dragic has always been a crafty, sneaky, underrated point guard that always seemed to have great games when needed upon. And it reflects in his playoff run with the Brooklyn Nets. He had incredible games with that Brooklyn Nets team, one of their best players. So I think it's a good signing overall. But what I don't like about this signing is the guaranteed minutes. I don't like guaranteeing minutes to players before they've stepped foot on the Chicago Bulls court, which is why I'm keeping this neutral as possible. I'm giving Goran Dragic a C. I'm not going to put it all the way down to D or anything like that because I still like Goran Dragic and I still believe he can earn those minutes that he's guaranteed at the moment. But I just feel that we're in a position where we have so many guards. I don't know why we're guaranteeing minutes to someone. If Goran Dragic starts the season 10, 20 games in and he's not playing well, are we still going to give him the 20 to 25 minutes that we promised him? If we keep doing that, yes, the continuity, trying to play together, that will still be there. But sometimes sometimes you just got to learn when enough is enough as well. So all I'm going to say is I hope Goran Dragic can earn those minutes. I honestly do. And at the end of the day, I think he can. But the fact that we guaranteed him minutes before he stepped foot on the court is something that I find very strange, very odd. Yes, he can earn those minutes. Yes, I believe he should get minutes at the start of the season. But I hope we have enough where if he's not playing well for half that season, 30 games into that season, we try to go and do something else. And we've done that over the course of 2 years. We've changed the team up a little bit, sometimes due to injury. Obviously, the first season with Billy Donovan, we switched almost everything about that team as well. So we know the Bulls can change things, but I just hope they have the courage to do that if Goran Dragic isn't playing well. So I just hope Goran Dragic plays well and this becomes a non-issue. But for now, that's my initial reaction. And Freeman Liberty on a training camp deal. Originally a two-way contract, then moved to a training camp deal. I'm going to give this a solid B- as well. I don't really have a problem with it. We have a lot of guards, yes, but I don't see him really staying on the Chicago Bulls team, and it's about giving more young players a chance to get exposure around the NBA. I don't see a problem with that whatsoever. And in fact, I hope we do more of this in the future with other guys like a Jones, like a Maker as well. Two really strong players from our summer league that maybe could get opportunities elsewhere and more exposure if they end up joining our preseason and our training camp. That is something that I would not mind whatsoever. That's really it. A long video, ladies and gentlemen, but I felt like it was a necessary one to make. I think I do this after every free agency. I think I did it last year. I think I did a tier list last year actually, but today I'm just grading them for now, and we'll see what I do in the future. If I do any more relation to free agency, who really knows? But thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you on another Chicago Bulls video. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care.